Okay, so welcome guys to the orientation workshop, and this is just more of a new orientation for all enrolled students as we try to change the structure with which we run chapter bootcamps. So just to give you a general history, um, last year we did the first pilot of Chapter with the first ever student, so we'll call that like our version 1.0. This year we had a more improved structure that was slightly more structured, whatever you guys have been experiencing so far. So that's more of our 2.0 now. And this is pretty much the third pivot we're making on this Chapter bootcamps. And the whole objective of the pivot here is to try focus on student engagements and student outcomes as the key points of focus. I think for the previous two pivots, we've been focused on the learning model, right, and the workshops and all that kind of stuff. And I think for us now is understanding that the bigger value is in terms of growth and what's the best structure to make sure that no one gets lost in the crowd but is able to reap the full benefit of growing technologically by the time they're done with their chapter bootcamps experience. And that's what I'll be talking about today. So there'll be a few changes here and there, primarily on the workshop side as we move to one-on-one technical mentorship. And at the end of the day, I also want to hear what you guys feel, because all this was inspired by the problems we faced. A lot of students are not attending workshops. A lot of students are not fulfilling projects. And we cannot be comfortable letting the students out to employer networks if we do not feel they have the technical capacity to actually do it. So we are seeing a very high dropout rate, which we're trying to mitigate by pivoting Chapter to a more one-on-one model where no one gets lost in the crowd. But we'll talk about this very cleanly. I think Chris or Cabral, if you guys can just admit anyone who can come in, I think I'll hear the notification. But if anyone's on Chapter Bootcamp's email, feel free to admit. I lost my screen slightly there, so I don't know what to do. Okay, just a moment. Yeah, this is weird. There we go. Okay, so I want us to first of all get back and understand what's the big motive behind Chapter Bootcamps and why we do what we do. And I think all of you guys understand by now that we are a coding bootcamp, but we're not your typical coding bootcamp because we're entirely virtual and remote. But our main goal is to upskill very young Africans onto on-demand tech careers such as data science, software development. Software development encompasses everything from web development, blockchain development, mobile development. I think right now we offer web development as a starting point, but there's always like that sort of option to expand into this. But I think the main thing to understand now is to talk about what are the not three but five key pillars of success for us as a bootcamp. And the first one is for us to succeed as a bootcamp, we need to admit students with high motivation to learn tech. Okay, it's easy to admit anyone, right? And that's really okay. But the question for us is we've seen the engagement problem we've had. We've realized that we need to fix our broken admission system and be more selective in terms of what students we let in. And the types of students we're letting in moving forward will be students who exude high motivation to learn technology, either based on what they've done before, their background, or how they talk about why they want to learn program X in the first place. So good. I don't want to talk about the admissions process for so much, but we've curated a new admissions process that's targeted to getting high caliber students who are highly motivated to learn tech in the first place. That's the first pillar that we really need to hit out for the success of chapter bootcamps in general. The second one is to support every admitted students with two things. One, quality content, right? So content that when you go through, you actually get the relevant skills that you want. But then we couple this up with you having access to an expert mentor who's able to guide you through a particular skill up until you're technical enough to handle technical projects on that particular skill. So a good example is you enroll in the data science program, and the first module you have is Python programming. We equip you with this quality content that we'll be sharing through the LMS. I think we've been working on this structure. Now we are cleaning it up even more, adding external resources as well, and trying to push it out on Slack as well. We're trying to make it more engaging. We just don't want a one course fits all thing, but we also want to include further resources over here so that everyone can get the sort of quality approach to the course in the best way possible. But more importantly is the pairing up with technical mentors. Instead of you working in a workshop where you get lost in a crowd of 20 people, now you can't get lost because you have to have this one-on-one engagement with a technical mentor, which is more tailored for you and your personal needs, where you have problems and where you might need extra support with. So that's the second pillar to us succeeding with our pivot right now. The third pillar is doubling down on our learning through practice, and you'll see that we do not want to make any compromises when it comes down to projects. If there's one thing that we were doing okay, but you want to do even 10 times better right now, it's projects. Based on your quality content and your expert support from a technical mentor, are you able to build stuff? Whether that's the daily challenge you do, whether that's the weekly project you do, or the capstone project you have to present to people, that's a key focus. And I think now we are doubling down and saying it's going to be very, very strict. No one goes to the next module if they're not able to hit the base requirements in a particular sprint in regards to practice. That will be a very key focus. And you'll see a lot of changes coming onto the LMS that try to effect the weekly project, the daily challenge, and all this kind of stuff, so that no one can hide from the whole idea that Chaptr should be practice-based. And by the end of the day, you want to walk out with a very solid portfolio, and you want to walk out with very tangible experience, which no matter how many expert mentor sessions you have or how much quality content you go through, really, it cannot replace the number of projects you do. That's where you learn, and it forces you to understand your gaps and keep improving upon them. Okay, fourth pillar here is we want to grow employability very, very significantly. And I'll talk about the career dev support later on. And the final thing is we want to keep eliminating financial barriers to accessing the program. And we'll still keep remaining being one of the pioneers and champions of income share agreements in Africa. Even now, as Chaptr increases the Chaptr global brand to support other schools with ISAs, one thing we're very sure with Chaptr Bootcamps is we'll keep doubling down and saying we want to offer more ISAs than any other school out there, and that will just be standard tradition that we'll keep maintaining here at Chaptr Bootcamps, because it's what made us get started in the first place. Okay, so just a quick table of contents. I'll go through all this sort of 7 topic areas. This you can, let's not focus so much on that slide. Let me jump straight up to that, and that's the Chaptr LMS. What changes do we expect on the Chaptr LMS moving forward? Okay, so this is something most of you guys are already familiar with, and what you're saying is, based on your program curriculum, you will still have access to a new course at the beginning of each 5-week learning sprint. I'm calling it 6 weeks because we do 5 weeks and then you take a 1-week break as well. That's totally okay. What we're saying is each and every single sprint, you're getting a new course. And this course of ours will be broken down into how we've been breaking it down all through. 1, the course is broken down into 4 modules that you do from week 1 to week 4. That's standard. Second thing is every weekly module will have a weekly practice project. So after every module, there's a weekly practice pegged. Now we just want to add more clarity and have it all on the LMS as well. Even the submission will be on that LMS as well. We've integrated a form that we can add in between the course as well. And then what you're also familiar with is that week 5 and week 6 will always be dedicated to building a group capstone project. And that's standard. So week 1 to week 4, you focus on learning. Week 5 and week 6, you focus on practice. At the end of every weekly module, you also do a mini practice project, which culminates in this major group capstone project that you're doing at the end of the day. Okay, so no major changes there. I think we maintain the structure a lot. Third thing here is every weekly module will still be broken down as we used to. 1, you'll have 4 lessons to be covered from Monday to Thursday. So those are the 4 days of the week. And then the remaining 3 days, you'll be working on the weekly project. That's Friday to Sunday. However, what you're saying is all these lessons are subdivided into topics, right? And what you're now being deliberate about is we want to make sure that these topics are things that you can do in a day. So at no point will you have topical content that requires more than 3 hours investment in that particular day. And the big question is you're investing at least, let's say, maximum 3 hours a day over time, and then you spend more time on the project in the weekend. And that's the big goal. And because you're now fully flexible, you can learn in your own time. And we only vet this by trying to give you a daily challenge at the end of the day. So what you're saying is lessons are subdivided into topics that will be doable based on the time you have available in a day. That's whether you have a job, whether you have school, whether you have whatever's going on in your life. Because these lessons are doable in less than 3 hours, there's really no excuse to go ahead and say you're not able to clear something. And even in days where you're not able to clear something, because it's not a huge backlog, if you miss a day, you still should be able to catch up with a day's work if you invest slightly more time on the next day. So we are just saying we're considerate in terms of the sort of lesson bulk, the daily lesson bulk we have outputted for you. Second thing is we're now being very deliberate about practice, and we're saying that the final topic of every lesson will be a daily challenge, which will seek to assess skills you learned. So this could either be you learn if statements when you're learning Python, and then the last sort of thing is for you to create a very, very short project that involves if statements. Or in the case of object-oriented programming, you learn something, you build a mini project, or in certain topics, like let's say statistics for people doing machine learning, having a mini quiz is more helpful in this front. So that's what you're saying. Every daily lesson will have a final topic that will be a short challenge. And we also considered about this challenge. It's not something that should take you more than 30 minutes. Most of the time, it's something that you get to practice what you've learned in 10, 15 minutes. And that's what you're going for. But it's about the tangible practice that's the more important thing over here. Okay. And then the second thing, the one of the final thing is to say, because you're doing lessons only from Monday to Thursday, then Friday to Sunday is focused on your weekly project. And we're still doubling down on the structure we had before with that. And then we're saying that now we're dripping content. Actually, I'll confirm when we'll start dripping content. And what I mean by dripping content is you only get access to the next module as soon as you make fulfillments for the current module you're doing. So as soon as you submit your weekly project, you unlock the next module. So the content becomes accessible to you. So the whole delays we have with uploads and all that kind of stuff, we're trying to eliminate that by having a dripping schedule. And this dripping schedule is not something you schedule on our side, but rather something that you trigger based on submission. So you do a weekly project, the next module is dripped. Whenever you finish the next module, that is, you do the challenges and then you do the weekly project for the next week. The next week is dripped. And the big idea is, even if you already know that particular week's content, the basic minimum that you need to do is do the weekly project for you to be able to move ahead. So even if you're already an expert with if statements, what you're asking you is spend the 5-15 minutes to build that if statement project or that weekly project for that week and then go ahead. It's the least you're asking because you want to vet skills. And the only way we can vet skills is by seeing what you can do in every sort of weekly project we have out there, and also what you can do at the end of every capstone. If you do have questions, feel free to ask me, but that's just the main aspect. Nothing has changed so much on the LMS. We're just trying to add up more structure. Okay.
Cyril.
Yes.
Sorry for the interruptions, huh?
Yes.
But I saw an email where you updated that instead of classes,
yeah,
we'll have a connection with ITM.
I'm getting to that. Don't worry so much about that. I'm still on the LMS. The next one will actually be technical mentorship. Okay,
sorry.
So I want to summarize the whole LMS thing with what I will say is a huge focus on practical projects. You have access to content. You have access to all that. We cannot vet whether you spend time on the course content or not. The only thing we can vet is whether you are good enough to fulfill the daily challenge, the weekly project, and the capstone project. That's what gives us confidence for you to keep moving ahead, or whichever technical mentor will be matched to you will get the confidence and understand what gaps you still have in your knowledge. So I want to go ahead and give you guys this particular note. One, these are the 3 main practice areas we have in Chaptr Bootcamps. You get a daily challenge after every lesson from Monday to Thursday, and this challenge will be very short. It's going to be a 15-minute thing, maximum 30 minutes. And it will only take you more if you're not familiar with the content very, very well. If you're not familiar with your content and you don't take time to learn, the challenge might be slightly difficult for you. But if you've gone through the content pretty well, then the challenge should never be an issue. And if at any point the challenge is still an issue, we know that if you just do quick research, even if it's a Stack Overflow thing, you'll be able to get quick support, because you also need to cultivate a culture where students are willing to source support outside, because that's how people end up working on dev projects in the actual world at the end of the day. So daily challenge will be a short one. It just assesses the skills you learn from a particular lesson. Second aspect will be your weekly practice project after every module. That's from week 1 to week 4. Very, very key thing. You only unlock the next week's content as soon as you're done with this week's. This is being reviewed by a technical mentor. The daily challenge is being reviewed by a SAT function, so it's going to be automatic code. We'll try to talk about the automation for that. I think we'll look through that with the team. But the weekly practice will be reviewed by technical mentors, particularly the technical mentor you're assigned to. Okay, and then the third aspect is you get to do a group capstone after every course. That's on week 5 and week 6. Nothing changes so much with the structure here. Just the big idea that we really want to make daily challenges a huge thing for us to vet lessons that you keep covering. Okay, so let's talk about the group capstone a bit. So in the group capstone, we'll still maintain the structure where you work in groups of 2 to 3 students. Second thing is the final project will still be presented on week 6. We want to maintain that structure as well. And second thing is, these are now the things we are adding. We'll gauge your individual contribution to the group project based on the Git commits you make on that particular project. So what we've always seen in the past sort of version of Chaptr has been one student being very, very good. I've seen this with a couple of groups. And other students being very, very much shambles. And I'm actually trying to make understatements here. You'd find like there's one really good student in a group and everyone else in the group is shambles. They don't know what's going on. So what do? They give the Figma UI UX design to the students who do not know anything about the code, right? So they spend about 10 minutes drawing up how the application is going to look like. And once that is done, the person who's working on the project actually goes ahead and redesigns these things afresh. And then they say that they've contributed. And then one person goes ahead and builds the project end to end. And then when they're coming to present, they're presenting in unison, as if all of them had equal contribution in the project. Yes, this project was done 90% by one particular person. There's two things you get when you do such a thing. One, you're not being genuine with yourself. Because if your contribution was 10% in a group capstone project, it means you don't have the tangible skills to do that project in the first place. So you are lying to yourself. If you're supposed to be doing a JavaScript project and all you've done is drawn a Figma wireframe, that's even more depressing. And this depressing nature is what we want to go ahead and gauge. And that's why we're saying TMs will be looking at commits, right? What sort of commits was each and every single group member making to the final project, so that we don't end up with scenarios where someone works on the Figma drawing and lets the other group member do the entire coding aspect, which is what they've been learning throughout that, and all they've done is just drawn a very shabby Figma design in the first place. Very, very sad scenario that we've seen a lot of times, but you also want to mitigate. So once again, we'll be gauging individual contribution based on commits. And what we'll also add is, as soon as you guys make the presentation at the end of the day, just like we do in universities, you'll also be able to gauge your peer contribution. So in your group of 3, you'll be rating all the other members of your group. So all of you guys will be rating each other based on your contribution. And also this allows us to understand how well you're able to collaborate, right? Or someone had to work with all that kind of stuff. And we're able to identify who are these people who are making group projects really, really hard to fulfill, so that we know what to do moving forward with these types of people. And we're also able to get off people who do not have the technical skills and are just masquerading around other people. At the end of the day, we want to graduate a set of students who are qualified enough to do the projects, qualified enough to land a job and champion a project by themselves. And if you're the type to only do Figma designs when people are coding, then that's not the type of student we want to be outputting at the end of the day. And these are the 2 measures we are adding in to make sure we're able to intercede when there's still time for us to intercede. Okay, final thing is you only proceed to the next course after presenting your group project. And I'll go ahead and add in that you only proceed to the next course after presenting your group project and after we confirm that your contribution was adequate towards the end project that was being done. And here's what I'll keep encouraging. If you're working on a group project on a React thing, right, this is how you should be splitting the work. If you're working on an Airbnb sort of project, let's split it in terms of pages. If my website has 3 pages, let each and every single person work on 1 page. If you think the page 1 is not okay, you could also go ahead and go to 1 page subdivide that page into sections and assign a section to each and every single member. That way, people get to have more consistent engagement. But at no point should you say that person A should do the Figma design, person B should do the coding, and then person C should go ahead and do the PowerPoint slides that you'll present during the capstone presentation. That's a bit a sad scenario. All of you guys should have equal weight across the equal deliverables across the project. So all of you guys should contribute to the slides. All of you guys should contribute to the Figma sort of design, and all of you guys should contribute on the code. And these are something that we'll want to keep an eye on, primarily on the code, and that's why we're saying we'll be gauging Git commits on that sort of particular thing. Okay, I've spent a bit too much time there, but let me proceed to the next one. But I think I spent a lot of time because of the sad state of affairs I've seen with previous classes on that, particularly the web development classes, where we've seen certain students take up the bulk for the rest, and then when you go 3 modules in, you realize that some people who are proceeding to next courses are not apt enough to actually work on end-to-end projects. And that's a sad state of affairs, particularly when you realize that. Okay. Now, let's go to the main flesh and what's the main thing that changes. And what we've said is we're making a change in Chaptr Bootcamps where we don't want you to get lost in the crowd, but we want you to receive guided mentorship using this sort of one-on-one technical mentorship. And there's 2 big advantages of one-on-one technical mentorship that's quite nice. One, you spend less time going through things you already know through a typical workshop just because everyone else needs to learn it. But now the sessions are more tailored to you. You go ahead and say, don't spend time taking me through if statements. I realize I have a problem working on loops. Or you go ahead and tell your TM, I don't want to spend my time in this sort of session we have with you going through the same code or the same content we have on the LMS. I want you to show me how I can apply this on an actual project. And this is the big value of technical mentorship, is that it's tailored individually to you. So you get to steer your growth in an even faster way because you're spending less time getting tangled in crowd stuff and going through content that you initially knew because everyone else wants to go through it. And it's more structured to you. So if you think you're very much okay with pretty much all the content from week 1 to week 3, then focus your technical mentorship sessions on learning the extra stuff. So I already know how to do web scraping with Python and Beautiful Soup. I don't want to spend time trying to tell my technical mentor how to scrape the next website. I want you to show me content involving Selenium so that I can create an Instagram bot rather than just scrape a site, right? All that kind of stuff. So it allows you to steer your learning in a way that you go faster and more tailored to your personal needs. And that's the big advantage of technical mentorship that you want to double down on as we move ahead. Okay, so now let me explain how the one-on-one technical mentorship will work now. Instead of the class workshops, what you'll do is you'll be linked to a technical mentor at the beginning of every 6-week learning sprint. So if you guys are now getting into the React class right now, you'll be linked to your TM who'll be taking you through React, right? And they'll understand you. And you guys will have like an intro call. So the first checkup call you have with the TM will just be more of an intro call to understand whether you know some things that are already in that class or not. Just set up the proper structure for you to know how you'll be going through the week. And that will be the thing that we work through. So instead of workshops, we're now working on this one-on-one technical mentor session. Cool. What you're saying is you can book 4 weekly 30-minute Zoom sessions with your assigned TM. Cool. But what you also go ahead and say is you can fail to book, but you have to book at least 1 technical mentor session weekly to gauge progress. The minimum you should do is 1, but we recommend if you can use all the time allocated out there to your advantage, that's what we recommend. But the minimum is 1. If you felt like this week you don't want to talk to a TM, at least do 1 and make sure you guys catch up on that checkpoint and are able to check up on progress at least at the end of the day. And I know this could happen for people who already have some base knowledge on a certain week's content, so they might want to go faster. But at least book once that the TM knows how it's going with the project and the weekly content anyway. So the base one will be 1 TM session. That's the minimum. And this is what we'll be gauging as an activation point. We count you as an active student if you are at least making at least 1 technical mentor session weekly to gauge your project. That's what counts as a weekly, as an active student. Whereas someone who does not book a technical mentorship session in a particular week is an inactive student. And then you're inactive for 3 weeks, then you might lose your status in Chaptr. Some of these rules I'll communicate later on, but we're just saying you have to book at least one technical mentorship session weekly, and you have availability of up to 4 30-minute Zoom sessions in a week. However, that's not it. The whole point of technical mentorship sessions is not the video calls or that you have to book. Yes, those do help because they allow you to go through a project, content, places where you're having gaps in a very structured way with your TM. But what you're saying is the TM here is like your friend, right? It's like your buddy. And you're required to engage on a one-on-one basis with your TM on Slack, where you can talk about the problems you're facing, right? Concepts you're struggling to grasp, any project blockages you're experiencing. It's like you could be matched with me and you're working through a project together. I know React, you don't know React. So each and every single day you come and tell me, yo, I've been learning this, I'm stuck here. I go ahead and tell you, probably you should try thing XXX. Oh, wait, I can see you're doing this very, very well. How about I send you additional content that you should check out if you want to be able to do this? If you're stuck on something, you're struggling to understand what Stack Overflow is saying, you reach out to your TM. What you're saying is it's not about the 4 weekly 30-minute sessions, right? It's about you having that one-on-one engagement on Slack, and it's about you creating sort of engagement. It's as if you're texting your friend, your girlfriend or your boyfriend on WhatsApp, right? The only difference is the relationship here is your technical progress. That's how I'd go ahead and state it. Not the best analogy, but I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about. And you only get the most out of the relationship the more you engage with the second person in the relationship. And that's what you're going ahead and recommending. Yes, you can book the sessions at any given point. You should book at least one, right? But the main point is you learn more by reaching out and saying, yo, Chris, I'm stuck on this machine learning project thing. Can you tell me, am I doing the class imbalance thing for machine learning as well as I need to be doing it? Right. And then Chris is like, yeah, actually, you should check out this following library that can help you handle imbalances. It works on thing XXX. So even with the texting, you get so much value, right? And because this TM is assigned to you and is working with a smaller group of students, that you're getting more support at the end of the day as compared to the crowd classes where you can get lost and they're getting a lot of questions from numerous people. So even the response rate is not that fast. So that's the key thing. Their incentive is also aligned to help you as much as possible, whether it's through the Zoom sessions or through the Slack channel where you can reach out to them one-on-one or in your buddy groups she'll talk about. Cool. Just understand that for anything, your TM is your run-to person for any sort of technical support and guidance, at least in relation to that sort of sprint or class you're doing at that particular moment. Okay, I know you might have a lot of questions off of this, but let me just talk about quality assurance for technical mentorships very, very fast. One, at the end of every week, you get to review your technical mentor so that we can make sure that you're getting as much value from your assigned TM. The whole one-on-one mentorship thing is not something that's novel to Chaptr. I've seen a school called Thinkful in the US that has done this very, very successfully and ended up getting like 89% graduate outcomes, so graduates to employment are using such a structure. So it's proven to work a lot. I also see this work with Ecole 42, a very novel school as well that tends to run its program more student-focused. But some of the problems we see from the Quora messages we've read is that your experience is pretty much pegged to your technical mentor. And what you're trying to say here is for us to vet this quality assurance, you get to review your TM at the end of every week. And this is for us to understand that you're getting value. And whenever we realize that TM reviews are slightly low, we can intercede and probably match with another TM before you drown and lose off on progress all across the cohort, all across the program in the first place. So that's the first thing. You get to review your technical mentor every week. It's a key thing so that we are able to assure quality assurance despite people being linked to different technical mentors. Second thing, in any case where you cannot access your technical mentor, you reach out to the administration team in the following ways. One, we are adding a bot to the LMS for quick support. So the bot will either be a WhatsApp thing where the moment you drop a WhatsApp message, we receive it on this front and you're able to handle that thing like as fast as possible as well. Second thing is you can reach out to us through the hashtag help channel on Slack. Also, this is something that's run by a bot as well, but you're able to help you as fast as possible. And what you're just saying is by you reaching out to us, we are able to mitigate any problems as fast as we can. And that's the big goal we have over here. At any time where your TM disappears, because I know it might happen, particularly as we now start to add in more TMs to our programs in the near future, right? We need to make sure we have a good quality assurance structure. What you're just saying is, at all costs, do not suffer silently. Let us know ASAP, and we'll make sure we make changes ASAP, right? To make sure that you're not suffering and you're getting the best sort of support you could get from a technical mentor, because a very significant portion of the chapter experience. Okay, number 3, you can always communicate with your technical mentor on how best to structure your support based on how best you learn. So one-on-one mentorship, right, means higher flexibility. So if you're the type to only go through projects, talk to your TM about it. If you're the type to say that the LMS does not work and you want to read blogs, talk to your TM about it. And then you guys can work on a model where you search blogs and see whether blogs help out. If you want to be doing Kaggle competitions instead of the weekly projects as well, talk to your TM about it, right? Okay, actually the weekly projects are slightly more compulsory, but I'm just saying, if you want to structure your learning in a slightly different way, because it's one-on-one, your TM is able to you're able to talk with your assigned TM to best structure it for yourself. Okay. Awesome. Any questions on that? I know I expect a lot of questions there because that's the bulk of the change. A lot of the changes you're making in this cohort are based on that. I lost my screen again. Just feel free to ask me as many questions as possible before we go to daily stand-ups and Slack.
My question was,
yes.
So she we have an assigned TM,
Yes.
So will that be the daily classes? The classes TM atakuwa na tunakaa pamoja na
mtakuwa mnakaa pamoja na TM. That's how I summarize it. That's why we're calling it one-on-one technical mentorship. You're talking with your TM on Slack daily, right? You're going through the LMS content, but then you can schedule the sessions with your TM. Would you recommend that if your sessions are more project-based, it's better off, because we don't want to do what we've been doing with workshop, which is repeating content that's already there on the LMS. I think if we go for a more project-based structure, it's better. But what you're saying is, you know how you best learn, and having the TM by your side is you just approach them and you can structure the sort of mentorship sessions based on how best you want to learn. I hope that answers your question.
And so for the LMS, because I've visited it a couple of times. Kwa unapata kuna title ya kuna tab ya content for Python. Inasema kutakuwa na what is it called, material for learning, but click on it, there is no bado it hasn't been updated.
Okay, we'll do this. Any sort of gaps in the LMS are things we're fixing, given its importance to your learning progress right now. If I could tell you, as you were doing the brainstorm last week on the way forward with Chaptr, realize that the big gap you also need to optimize will be the LMS, and you should expect a lot of LMS updates coming soon. So the first sort of updates you should expect on the LMS will be content updates. So we've been doing reviews today, tomorrow, and on Wednesday to see whether there's any gaps so that we're able to mitigate it as early as now. Second aspect will now be adding the features that help us run this sort of new bootcamp structure better, whether that's the bot to get support, whether that's how we list workshops, right? Whether is how you easily access like links to your technical mentorship session booking, all that kind of stuff. So there'll be a couple of changes coming onto the LMS, and they'll be coming gradually. But the first sort of updates you should expect are content updates, because we're doing content reviews right now. Okay. Cool. But if you see a gap on the LMS on something that's not available, reach out. Reach out as fast as possible, so that if something slips our eye, we're able to solve it as fast as possible, because this is quite important for your growth and also for us to support more students with it.
Awesome.
Any other question on that front? Technical mentorship? Okay, now let's go to stand-up and community. Okay, so not doing workshop runs the risk of people could get lost in the process and they don't get to engage whatsoever. But we don't want you to get lost at the end of the day. We don't want you to get lost and make it seem as if it's only you by yourself learning with this technical mentor, and you cannot see the other people and the progress they're making. And that's why Slack engagement and daily stand-ups is a very, very important aspect over here. Okay, some of you have actually come from the Moringa program. So I think Moringa does daily stand-ups pretty well. We're learning a thing or two off of that as well. And we're also trying to implement this. But let me go through this systematically. What we've done with the brainstorm is we've taken the best features from different bootcamps and integrated it into this sort of Chaptr Bootcamps 3.0. So you'll try to see some of them are inspired by different schools as we try to think about the best structure for you to learn with us. Okay, so let's talk about the engagement through buddy groups. So you're assigned to a technical mentor, but in the background, this technical mentor will typically be working with around 3 to 8 students who could be taking the same course within a learning sprint. So what the technical mentor will do to create an engagement, the students that he's guiding or he or she is guiding will form a particular buddy group. So you guys get to be friends. If you happen to be students who are under the mentorship of one TM, you guys will form a particular buddy group because you're pretty much learning the same thing. You're learning from the same TM. It's one-on-one, but because you want you guys to have this friendly aspect, we create this sort of overarching buddy group where you guys can get to engage. Okay, now every buddy group will have a mini Slack group together, and this allows you to interact with colleagues in the same pathway. Your buddies will also be your potential team members for group capstone. So keep in mind, we're not doing the workshops again. So where do you get to interact with people who could be your potential group members? This could be on this mini buddy groups that you have with your specific TM. So the TM is engaging with you one-on-one, but you also get to engage with other people that the TM is engaging with. Okay. To make the buddy groups interesting, we'll also have a monthly virtual bonding experience. That's every 4 weeks, where groups get to compete with other buddy groups on Quizzo and any other interesting challenges. So this will start not this Sunday, but the Sunday after this Sunday. We'll have the first sort of buddy group bonding session. And this will be a way for now not only you to interact with your buddy group, but also see what other buddy groups from other TMs, how they're going about. And this will be a very interesting structure. Some of you who've been with us for long, I think we've done Quizzo in the past, but we just say it doesn't have to be Quizzo. It could be any other interesting challenges. I think for people in the chapter team, we've done things such as the wiki search. Is it wiki search or what is it? The geo search, which is an interesting game. There's a Wikipedia game as well. There's a lot of games. You guys can suggest games as well. But this allows you to bond with other buddy groups. You get to bond with your buddy group more when you compete, but you also get to see other buddy groups and interact with them competitively with something that's less stressful than always going through tech content. So engagement through buddy groups is key because one, you get to work in a group or with the same students who are also guided by the same TM, so you get to interact. These people will also be potentially people who you work with for your group capstone. And more interestingly, is you'll have this bonding session where buddy groups can compete against each other. You can look for very sexy names for your groups. And then we do the competition and then we gauge it. We just want to have more engagement here. We want to make it more interesting. And it does not always have to be the one-on-one technical mentorship and then you disappear. Having this sort of social approach is also quite interesting. Okay. Now, second thing is daily stand-ups in buddy groups. Now, let us understand why daily stand-ups are important. Daily stand-ups are important for two sort of things. One, it's an accountability framework. That makes you accountable in terms of, are you making constant progress on whatever skills you're learning on that particular learning sprint? It's a very, very key thing. That's why daily stand-ups are important. Second thing about daily stand-ups is when you end up getting a tech job, you'll be working with Agile Scrum most of the time. And when you work with Agile Scrum, daily stand-ups will be part of it. In fact, I should mention that I need to add Agile Scrum to the career dev curriculum that I'll communicate to Jesse, because it's a very important skill to also learn for those of you who want to get tech jobs in startups or even more established companies. So I'll just go ahead and write that. Agile Scrum, a very key thing for the career dev as well. Okay, so you're doing two things. You're being more accountable and at the same time you're learning how people operate in a typical company, which is through daily stand-up. So when you work for a particular company, some companies have what we call start of day, end of day. So at the start of day, you go ahead and say the 3 bullet points of things you're working on, which could be the things you're working on as a developer. And then at the end of the day, you go ahead and share your deliverables and say, end of day, I was able to work on these bullet points, right? And here are the things I was able to work on. So you show them all that kind of stuff. But for the chapter daily stand-up, we'll structure it slightly different. Okay, so within the buddy groups, all of you students will be required to check in every weekday through our daily stand-up program, which runs as follows. Okay, so every student in a buddy group will lead a stand-up at least once weekly. So let's imagine we are 4 of us within a buddy group, or let's say 5 of us within a buddy group. All of us will be a daily stand-up lead on every day. So I could take up Monday, Cabral could take up Tuesday, Chris could take up Wednesday, Rohi takes up Thursday, Aseta takes up Friday, right? That's a given example. So when Monday comes, I'm the one to post the daily stand-up and be like, yes, share your daily stand-up, right? And then you drop down the questions for the daily stand-up. And then everyone, including yourself, you go ahead and fill that particular daily stand-up. So that's a key thing. So every student will lead a stand-up at least once weekly, and we're just decentralizing the whole sort of responsibility over here. So we want to decentralize responsibility, and TMs will be guiding this in one way or another. But every student gets to lead a stand-up by posting it on their Slack group, at least for everyone will have their day. Cool. Once the stand-up is posted, you guys, everyone will be required to go ahead and fill the stand-up. And this stand-up will typically be posted at 9 p.m. every day. So the stand-up will consist of the following questions. So the questions will be, what were you able to learn on that particular day? So at 9 p.m., the questions come in. What are you able to learn on that particular day? What challenges did you face on that day? And how did you go about solving the challenges you faced? And these challenges you could face either when you're doing your daily challenge or when you're learning, you couldn't understand something. Probably you decided to learn from another blog and all that kind of stuff. And if you're not able to solve the challenge, this is also an indicator where a TM can understand that we have a gap over here and they need to schedule a one-on-one session with you where you'll talk through that particular challenge. Cool. So what you're saying is this stand-up culture allows you to keep each other accountable in the same way companies you work for will do it, right? And everyone will be required to share answers to these 3 questions, right? Each and every single day. So the stand-up will be posted by the stand-up lead at 9 p.m., but everyone needs to do it before they go to bed. That's like 12 midnight on that particular day. And this will be the 3 main questions. Stand-up should take you less than 5 minutes. There's nothing so much you're spending on here. It should take you less than 5 minutes. It's just an accountability framework. It also allows TMs to know how you're going about, and it's a very important structure for accountability. And you'll see it a lot when you start working for companies. Okay. I know you guys might have questions for that. Ask me questions in regards to stand-ups and buddy groups so far. Any questions in regards to stand-ups and buddy groups before I go to the next point, which is not so new at the end of the day? Okay, no questions. I hope you guys can still hear me. Someone just tell me if you can hear me so that I make sure that I'm not lost. I know.
Okay, Cheryl, we can hear you. Yes. I have a question. Yeah. As you said, we'll be having like the buddy stand-ups. Will you be having the stand-ups each day?
Only weekdays.
Like,
only weekdays.
Sorry?
Only weekdays.
Only weekdays.
Yes. So only weekdays. So long as it's a day where you are supposed to, you have like a daily lesson, you do a stand-up, and the stand-up is, this should take you 2 minutes. What did you learn today? Today I was able to learn if statements, or let's say today I was able to learn Redux. I was able to learn Redux forms. What challenges did you face? When I tried doing the blah, blah, blah project, I was not able to do the Redux thing pretty well on the form, all that kind of stuff. How did I go about solving the challenge? I went ahead and searched, and on dev.to I saw this blog that allowed me to solve it, but I still feel I have a challenge on this, which I want the technical mentor to help me with. It's a very quick thing. It should take you less than 2 minutes, 5 minutes max here, but it allows you to keep each other accountable amongst buddy groups. So if you see someone in your buddy group is not posting stand-ups, it's time for you to check up. It also allows us to see whether you're engaging with the content as much as possible and all that kind of stuff. So it's a light thing. You have to do it daily, but it's a very light thing. You're only doing it for 2 minutes, and you could do it anytime from 9 p.m. to midnight. Just before you sleep, ask yourself, were you able to learn something that day? And if you're able to learn something that day, drop the stand-up. If you're not able to learn something that day, be very, very clean and say, and yeah, today I've been lazy. I was not able to learn anything, so I didn't experience any challenges. And what you end up doing by doing stand-ups is, the moment you realize that you're not doing something during a day, the stand-up will force you, because you'll feel guilty to tell your other colleagues that you've not been working on anything. It's actually very guilt-trapping to come forward to people and tell them, hey, sijaeza for the first day, and then second day is the same thing, third day is the same thing. Even people think you're a joke, right? So that accountability structure of reporting to other people also grounds you to actually live up to your deliverables and actually go ahead and learn new skills. Okay, is that clear, Bratipa? And anyone else who has a question? Okay, any other question on this front? Okay, I hope you guys can still hear me. Okay, we have about 11 minutes. Let's talk about general Slack community. So now you'll be asking me the question. We're working in buddy groups. What happens to the general Slack community? We're just saying, because you're working in very small groups, we'll still go ahead and make the deliberate effort to bring students together in this larger casual Slack communities. And in this larger casual Slack communities, here you can share anything in regards to additional educational resources. We want you guys to be casual. Go ahead and share some developer memes. Let us laugh a bit in these groups as well. Talk about some Python memes in the Python programming channel. Let us laugh as well. Let us be more in touch. Go ahead and say you read this blog. I think you guys could also enjoy it so much as well. If you're stuck on something and you're saying, yo guys, I'm trying to work on this React project and I'm stuck on this front. Is there anyone who knows how to do it who can help me do this thing? And we can go ahead and schedule a pair programming thing with the VS Code live share and work through it together, all that kind of stuff. You feel me? We don't want you guys to be stuck up and living in a silo, yet you have other students going through the same problems you're going through, trying to learn the same thing you're trying to learn. And that's why the general Slack community is very important. Even more important because some students already know a skill that you might be learning. So they might be of help. So it's just about creating a sort of student engagement where we get to help each other out. And you also get to share and be casual and interact with the general community. Even when you have job opportunities that you're applying for, what's stopping you from posting it on the general channel and letting other people who can apply for the same job apply for it? You're just trying to expand out opportunities for everyone else. The chapter technical mentors, myself, we do it. We'll keep doing it, right? But now it's also trying to say that for it to even be more engaging, having students engage in this will even be better. Okay, so what are the typical communities we have available? I'll create a guide on the Slack communities we have. One, we have the general channels. This will be the general, all students and all graduates. These ones are more for updates. So if you have an update that you want to send to all students, we'll send it on all students. If you have an update for all graduates, we'll send it there. The general one is for introduction and any random thing that we want to talk about. That will be on the general channel. I think we'll also start having a thing where we also get to introduce ourselves in the general so that we understand each other's background. It could be a place to drop intros, right? Share blogs, right? Resources, right? New events that are happening. So it could be a very, very general channel, as the name suggests. Okay. Then we'll have the category-based Slack channels. So this will be channels that are involved in discussions around a specific program categories, such as data science or web development. So most of the time, some content or blogs that you read or memes that you share might be relevant to only data science or web development students. Go ahead and share it internally in those communities because they span across all the sort of modules that you go through as well. And then if you have more specific stuff to share, we'll still maintain our course-based Slack channel, which is if you're doing web design, that is HTML, CSS, Figma, we can share resources on Figma on the web design channel. Same way with the Python programming channel. If you're learning web scraping, you can share that. And what we're saying with this is all students who've gone through Python programming, whether it was 3 months ago, right, or they're going through it now, will all be part of this group and you all get to engage so long as you've already been part of that module or you are part of that module. So we'll also have the course-based Slack channels. And then we'll have the specialized Slack channels. These are Slack channels where we post content. Most of the time it will be posted by chapter team members, either content on employer networks, right? So whether there's job openings that people should be applying for, like there's things that you're looking for people to sign up for on the employer side, or whether it's entrepreneurship, where we're sharing slides or we're sharing like decks and all this kind of stuff. We'll have the specialized Slack channels for that. And then we'll have the bot-driven Slack channels. In these channels, don't post anything. Whatever's being posted there is being posted by a bot, right? And it's just to do it. So if we have upcoming workshop listed on Eventbrite or the LMS, it will automatically be posted on Slack using through a bot. If we have job openings available for Chaptr as well, we'll just be listing them somewhere and then we'll add a bot to kind of engage with that as well on the job openings channel. And then the help channel as well is a channel that if you text us using the help channel, we get the notification very, very fast using a bot as well, so that we can help you as fast as possible. What you're just saying as summary is technical mentors and students alike are requested to engage as much in the communities. We want a culture where everyone learns from everyone else. That's the sort of culture we want to build up. Okay, I'm guessing there's not so much questions with the Slack stuff, so let me go to the career development thing. And here's what I have to say about career development. A key focus for the pivot you're making is to improve outcomes. The first thing was to improve engagement. So far, what I've talked about has been focused on engagement. The second thing I want to talk about is how we can improve outcomes. That's what I'm talking about over here. Okay, I hope you guys didn't lose my screen, please. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, switched off the monitor a bit, so yeah, I'm lucky. Okay, so all enrolled students, you guys will get access to a career development course that we are designing and will be posted in the LMS that will span the following topics. These topics will be things such as resume or CVs, professional branding. You'll have things such as cold emails and networking, technology job interviews, live coding interviews. I'm going to categorically say this. For those of you who did the live coding interview, the results are not as pleasing, right? And so we also have to make deliberate efforts to also prepare you for live coding interviews so that next time we have people openly hiring like that, we perform better on that and that the opportunities come back home at the end of the day. So there was a lot of you guys who did the live coding interview, but the outcomes are not so good because no one got a 9 or 10 out of 10. Yeah, that was the standard that was expected. But through practice, we could build up this sort of skills so that you don't have to get stuck up on the next live coding interview. The other one would be things such as portfolio development, particularly for web developers, more so the front-end developers. How your portfolio looks is very, very key because they start judging you from that. Whereas for people who are doing something like data science, you just need to have some good projects on your GitHub account and you share your GitHub as a portfolio. But if you're a front-end dev, you don't share your GitHub as a portfolio. At least have a landing doc that showcase your front-end skills as a portfolio as well. Okay. We also will have an algorithms and data structures thing that will be structured as an independent course that you should go through before you start doing technical interviews. This is something that I'm trying to structure out of the LMS before end of year because most of you guys will be getting technical interviews from early next year as well. So just having this available to you when you go for your December holiday will be a good start. And that's what I'm trying to build upon. Okay, any questions with that? But let me talk about the individual career development support. So on top of the cost, you'll have the following. One, after every career dev module, you'll have a deliverable to submit, right? So I've talked about the 7 modules that you're talking about. The curriculum could change and we'll communicate that, not a big problem. But every module will have a deliverable. So if I'm done with the resume module, my deliverable is to submit a resume at the end of the day. So what you're saying is, most of you guys are in Chaptr on a 5 to 6 month experience, which is totally okay. And what you're saying is we are splitting up career development as a month-to-month experience. So you should be fulfilling at least one deliverable per month throughout the course of your Chaptr experience. However, I understand that there's some of you who are only remaining with 2 months or 3 months maximum. I do recommend you to fulfill your deliverable, at least 2 deliverables every month, so that you don't get stuck up and you're rushing through things at the end of when you're done with the cloud computing course. So that's what I'll keep saying. For those of you who are remaining with very few months at Chaptr, please try do 2 deliverables. But in the future, everyone, you'll be doing at least 1 deliverable, right? So you do the resume module, you submit your resume, get feedback on that. You do the personal branding module, you submit your LinkedIn profile, right? Get feedback on that. You do the live coding thing, we give you a random live coding stuff, right? You get feedback on that, right? All that kind of stuff. That's a structure we want to go for over there. And we want to make it distributed all across your Chaptr experience so that you're not rushing to do things the final month of your Chaptr enrollment. Cool. After submitting a deliverable, you schedule a one-on-one session with the chapter team member who gave you feedback on your deliverable. So I did the resume module this month. I went ahead and submitted my draft resume. I got feedback from my draft resume. And then you work on a second draft. And then for your second draft, as soon as you work on that, you schedule a one-on-one session with the chapter team member. And there you can talk about how you can improve it. And the big idea is you also want to bring one-on-one technical mentorship right to your career development, because it's important. It's important to have that sort of one-on-one touch on career development as well. And then the final thing is, on our side, we'll also still keep engaging potential employers. Most of the time here, what you're doing at Chaptr is we're trying to partner with recruitment agencies so that we're getting more employers at once. So that will be the structure here. And what you're saying is, as soon as we have open job openings, we'll be listing it, just like we had the previous 300 job openings, right? For those of you who did the live coding interviews. But what you're saying right now, the structure would be based on how well you're going about your technical mentorship. That is, have you fulfilled certain modules, right? Do you already have the employable skills? And the second thing we'll be looking at, do you already have a solid career profile before we think of forwarding you to potential employers or our recruitment partners in that front? So we don't want to forward someone who does not have a resume. We definitely rather forward someone who has a resume. They've already done like 2-3 modules because they already have like some skills that are employable in the first place, even if they're not done with their Chaptr experience. We don't want to wait till the last end. We want to start doing it actively even as you're enrolled. Cool. So a good example is for some of you who are doing the Django course right now, you could already get front-end development jobs. So nothing's stopping us from making sure you have a set resume set. And as soon as you have a set resume set, you can start being pushed to front-end jobs. If you can get one of them, that's well and good, even as you learn Django backend development. Okay. Cool. Now, let me get to the outro, the final things. This is something you're still thinking about and you're still planning. So I'll keep getting your feedback off of this. Optional technical workshops. We'll have 2 types of technical workshops available to students by sign-up. The first sort of workshops we'll have will be the niche workshops by industry thought leaders. Here, what we'll be doing is occasionally we'll be inviting external experts to talk through a particular topic very, very in-depth. So a good example is I'm doing machine learning, right? And we realize that, you know what, doing a credit risk project is not the same as doing a typical machine learning project. So how about we go ahead and think of a thought leader who would come in and share some knowledge in terms of how to work on a credit risk project. So we want to make it very niche, very focused, and very, very technical. And then they come in and you have this sort of optional workshop that you can register for if you're part of the people who want support on sort of credit and all that kind of stuff. Cool. So that's one option. Second one, we'll also be having a second set of workshops. It will be special workshops by TMs. So when we realize we have numerous students that are experiencing the same challenge in a particular topic, what we'll be asking technical mentors to do would be to go ahead and schedule, right? To go ahead and schedule a session. To talk about that. So let's take an example. You're doing Python programming and we realize that all of you have a problem with web scraping. So it's up to us. We get a technical mentor and we go ahead and say that on this day, at this time, we want to run a session on web scraping because most of you are struggling with it. And then it's going to be project-based and we do like an end-to-end web scraping project and all that kind of stuff. So this will be the sort of optional technical workshops we'll have. So how will they work? Scheduled workshops will be posted on the LMS workshops page, which is something we're about to deploy the new feature, as well as on Slack. And what you say is when the signups reach 10, the workshop will be confirmed. If the signups do not reach 10, then it will be cancelled. It means like it does not reach the base interest. So if it's less than 10, you just default to doing getting your support from one-on-one technical mentorship. If it's more than 10, we realize it's a common problem for a lot of people. So it means we structure a workshop around it, and then we go ahead and share resources. And this could either be a special workshop by a technical mentor, or it could be a niche workshop on a very niche skill by an external sort of thought leader that we invite over for sessions. So these are things that we are still trying to innovate around this, and we'll be experimenting this as we move forward. So this is probably the one thing that we don't have fully set up, but we'll be trying it out. But what you're saying is it won't be the same format where I just invite 100 people to come and attend a workshop and then only 5 of you attend. It's going to be a structure where on the LMS and on Slack, we say we have this session scheduled for this time. If you want to attend, kindly go ahead and confirm your attendance here. And if we hit the base attendances, then we confirm that sort of project. Okay, I've lost my screen again, so I'll just keep going. That's fine. Let me go ahead and present now. Cool. If you have questions, feel free to ask me. We're still taking a lot of feedback on this section, so feel free to give me as much as possible on your front because it's so new to us. Cool. Now, optional enrichment program. In the past, we've always had week 6 where we do tech entrepreneurship and career development, but now career development is slightly more structured with a course on the LMS. However, for tech entrepreneurship, and we're also introducing something in regards to freelancing, we're structuring it as an optional enrichment program. So what you're saying is, during every learning sprint, students, you'll have the option to engage in an available program based on your interest. So signups work just like the workshops I've talked about. And these programs will not be like a one-off workshop like the workshops I've talked about. They are going to be more of like a workshop series. So it's going to be one workshop weekly for 4 to 5 weeks. That's how it's going to be structured. And we'll have different programs available. So like, for instance, for this sprint, we'll have tech entrepreneurship. And then for the next sprint, we'll have freelancing. And then we'll keep alternating there. You guys can also suggest additional enrichment topics that we should consider. I think freelancing was suggested by one of you, and we are considering it. And that's why we're saying it might be available in the upcoming sprint. I think it was suggested by someone in the React class. So thank you very much for that. But what you're saying is enrichment programs will run like workshops where you'll have like one workshop per week as well, spread over 4 to 5 weeks. So it's like very lightweight instead of having like workshops at the every 6th week. And then there's very poor progression because the last workshop you did was 6 weeks before, and then it's 6 weeks after and you can't even remember. So just to keep the progression, they'll be optional. So we gauge interest in signups. If the signups reach 10, we go ahead and set up the weekly workshop based on a time that works for everyone. And then the weekly workshop will only be, let's say, 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. And here are some of the programs that we'll be offering. We'll be offering tech entrepreneurship. For those of you who want to use their technical skills to build products that scale and speak value to other people. So these are people who want to be entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs. And this program will culminate with a pitch day where participants get to present their technical ideas to everyone, and you get feedback off of that as well. So this is a chance for those of you who want to be entrepreneurs. You enroll in this so that as you're learning through Chaptr, you can also be building a startup. And then when you graduate, you start looking for funding, you start looking for people to join your team and all that kind of stuff. And you just want to make sure you get the proper guidance to understand how you should go about running a tech entrepreneurship startup. Second thing is freelancing. For those of you who want to learn how to start a freelancing business that utilizes your technical skills, this is a nice way to make quick buck as a developer. Freelancing is a very popular thing, particularly for those of you who are doing front-end development. That's very, very popular niche, right? Data scientists, you might struggle with freelancing a bit because most people are not hiring freelance data scientists. They're actually hiring data scientists into their companies. But if you are very, very skilled in data science, you might carve out a career as a freelancer. However, for people in software development, this course might be relevant because there's every restaurant out there in the block. They're not going to hire a techie to come into their team. They're just going to request a freelancer to go ahead and build a simple website for in like two weeks to 1 month and all that kind of stuff. And we also want to show you how to structure a freelancing business in a way that you can close more customers, make sales, and start making money based on the skills you already have. So you can join in based on whatever program you're part of. But I'm just saying, based on the skills you have, some skills will have higher demand than others because you also need to understand the market. Understand the market. Who are the people who hire more freelancers? It tends to be small businesses. Small businesses will tend to be looking more for websites and things of that sort rather than looking for data scientists because they don't even know what to do with their data. So keep that in mind as well. But tech entrepreneurship, freelancing, very two good options that you can optionally be part of if you want to. Okay, I won't talk so much about this program curricula. Here's the data science program. I think it's quite open. We've talked about this all through. We have 7 modules as it is. Here's the full stack web dev curriculum as well. For those of you who are coming into the advanced developer programs, for data science advanced developer programs, you're either doing machine learning 2, big data engineering, and Azure cloud computing. Whereas for the full stack web dev, those who are coming into the advanced developer program, you're probably doing React front-end dev and AWS cloud computing as well. So just keep that in mind. I will color them as red so that we know that the red ones are the modules that advanced developers do, whereas our typical programs will cover all 7 modules. But for the advanced people, they usually start like halfway through with the higher technical skills as well. Okay, and then the final thing is financing options, which I don't think I need to talk about again over here. We have a couple of financing options still available: upfront payments, flexible installments, right? And you can defer up to 80% of your fees to an income share agreement. But for those of you who are part of our advanced developer program, you understand we have a special income share program for that. You guys are familiar with that. For those of you who are Chaptr early believers, people who joined Chaptr earlier in the year, right? You guys also understand that you're part of a special income share program that does not fit with the rates that we see right now as well. And what you're just saying is payments will always be collected before you are assigned to a mentor and before you get access to LMS content at the beginning of every 5-week learning sprint as well. If you're having any trouble fulfilling payment, at times it's just easier to reach out and say, I'm struggling with doing my base payment here, right? If you can just give me an extension for like 3 days or a week and I'll be able to pay it here so that we don't delay you. I've seen students reach out to me like that, and you're very open to do that as well, so long as you maintain the transparency. However, we are being slightly strict to the payment barrier because you're doing as much as possible to support you, but at the same time, we still need to keep our business running. That means we need to be more efficient in terms of making our collections out there. That is ISA contracts being signed for those of you who are in an ISA program, as well as payments being collected on time for those of you who are in a paying program as well. This is the general summary of the financing options. So tier 1 is you paying only 4,000 every 5 weeks plus a 10% ISA for 24 months, right? Tier 2 is you have 8,000 every 5 weeks plus 7.5. Tier 3, you get to see the gist. The percentage reduces as we keep going. And then tier 5. Tier 5 will be the people who pay 20,000 with no ISA. That's fine. And then we have the tier 5 here. These are people who are part of the special ISA program for advanced developers, which is a 5% ISA for 12 months because they've learned most of the things by themselves and they're only coming to Chaptr for less than 10 weeks. And then tier 6 are those people who are early believers. So that was a 10% for 24 months. And then we might think of tier 7, which is an individualized ISA rate for higher risk students. These are students who, through our admissions process, we predict that they have a higher likelihood of dropping out or a higher likelihood of not getting employed. We might think of being innovative about that, so we don't lock them out. And this might mean like very, very different rates. But this is a model that we're experimenting not only with Chaptr, but also with our Chaptr schools, our partner schools for Chaptr Global as we process ISAs outside Chaptr as well. So we'll give you guys update as January 2022 comes. But this will not apply for any of you who's already enrolled. So just keep that in mind. Cool. That's it for today. If you have questions, feel free to drop the questions to me. I think the five main the main sections were the ones I've talked about, not the final 2. But everything I've talked about from the LMS up until interest-based bonus workshops, those are very key things to set up, and then the official program and financing options. I was just reminding you guys because it's something you're already familiar with. Okay, are there any final questions? Okay, so just to close up the call, I'll go ahead and do this, and I'll go ahead and state very, very clearly. Please, there's 2 forms that I've shared over here. The first one is this form, and this form I also shared on email, and I said, based on the change structure for Chaptr Bootcamps, if you want to continue, please confirm your continuation by filling this form. It's a very short form. It should take you 1 minute or 2 minutes. So for most of you, right after this call, go ahead and fill it. Fill it. Let us know what you feel about it. Let us know that you want to continue with us, the new structure. If you do not want to continue with us, you can also have the courtesy to go ahead and tell me, you know what, I think the new structure that you guys have implemented is a bit shit, and I don't think I can go ahead with it. Okay, not as profane as I'm dropping it, but I'm just saying you can tell us whether you're not comfortable with the new structure, but if you're comfortable with the new structure, go ahead and confirm it by filling that form. That's what I'm saying. Second thing is, these slides are very, very detailed, and because they're detailed, whether or not you check out the recording or not, by you going through the slides, you should be able to go through everything I've talked about and understand, because I've actually typed down the things the same way I've been saying them. So that's the link to the slide. I'll also be sharing both of these links on Slack so that you guys have access to them. And that's it from me in terms of onboarding you to the new orientation program. So as soon as you fill that form, we'll confirm your project backlog. So if we feel that you have some project backlog from the previous sprint you've not completed, we'll let you know so that you get working on that and complete that. But as soon as everything is set, you'll get assigned to your TM so that you get starting, so that you start working with them on the upcoming sprint as fast as possible. So keep that in mind. Very, very essential over there. So fill the form to go ahead and to confirm that you want to keep moving, right? If you do not want to keep moving, have the basic courtesy to tell me that the new structure does not work for you. If you want to continue, fill the form. And when you fill the form and you assess your project backlog, you'll be assigned to a technical mentor immediately. So there's some of you who will get a technical mentor as soon as tomorrow, whereas there's some of you with a very huge backlog who might end up getting them on Friday, because you have to go ahead and see whether you'll be able to do the project that you did not submit before you actually move to the next module. Okay, any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Where are we submitting the projects?
We usually have a project form that's quite available. The simple link is usually tinyurl.com/chapterprojects. Let me type it down over here. It's usually https://tinyurl.com/chapter-projects. That link will always take you to the project form, right? It's the shortcut link that we use. It will always take you to the project form, and it will guide you, and you submit a project, and TMs will be able to review your project with submission.
Okay.
Cool. How does one become a high-risk student? This does not apply to you. So this applies more to the Chaptr Global ISA program that you're trying to expand into other schools. And what we say by a high-risk student is we'll be doing a lot of data analysis to try see, based on how well someone performs on the aptitude test, whether they're fit enough to take up the program. So take an example. If someone does the aptitude test and they end up getting 150 out of 200, that's a very good student. We do not have questions about their ability to go ahead and do the program and graduate very well because they've confirmed their aptitude. However, if someone ends up getting 80 out of 200, then you have questions about their ability, and you might not be so comfortable to invest in them through an ISA because you're not sure whether they'll even be able to pass the aptitude test for employment at the end of the day. This only applies with the new admission structure we've implemented. And what you're just saying here, as an incentive to get them there, we go ahead and add in a risk-reward parameter whereby the ISA might be slightly more expensive because the school that is investing on them on the ISA is taking higher risk with them because their graduation expectation is of a lower percentage than other typical students who actually pass the aptitude test. Other things that also influence this might be someone who's just a high school graduate is a higher risk student as compared to someone who's in their third year or fourth year of university. So with that higher risk is the viability of investing in an ISA might not make so much sense to a particular school. So it might mean having to design a slightly higher rate ISA that tries to make the school to think about whether they can invest in an ISA or not is what works through over here. You can't hear me clearly. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Okay. What I'm just saying is the whole high risk perspective is something we'll write a blog about, but does not apply to you guys. It mostly applies to the Chaptr Global ISA program and how we partner with other schools to offer income share agreements to students. Students who are high school graduates might be higher risk, or students who do not get the minimum score on the aptitude test as well might be higher risk. And the only sort of incentive that schools can get to invest in them in an ISA is to make sure that there's a high expected return rate on that particular income share agreement contract. Once again, very, very technical thing, very, very economics heavy thing that we have to think about, but does not apply to you guys already in Chaptr Bootcamps at the moment. And I don't think it will apply even next year. This only applies to Chaptr Global and the ISA program we run with other schools, but we might experiment some of it in Chaptr. Okay, not the most relevant question to a lot of you, but I hope I got to answer it. Okay, any questions? Any final questions? Any final comments? I want to call off the call. It's been a bit too long. Right. Now we're done with the questions. The last thing I'll go ahead and ask you guys is any comments on the new structure? What do you guys feel about it? Do you see any gaps here that you think we need to start thinking about? And I'll open the floor here in the next 5 minutes so that we close it off. If you think the new structure is good or bad, it's your chance to comment. There's no hard feelings here. It's a chance for us to get feedback so that we can improve it better. That's all we are asking. So you can make a comment on anything. Or if you have a suggestion on something we could also include, this is also a chance for you to make it. So anyone who wants to add up any final outro before we call off the call? Because at the end of the day, we also want to hear from you. We just don't want to keep changing stuff without getting your input a bit. And this is a chance for us, for you guys to confirm whether this will work or whether we need to make 1, 2, 3 other changes for it to work better for you guys as students. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Awesome. So anyone who wants to drop a comment or two, right? Drop feedback as well. I'll also create a feedback channel on Slack just for that as well. Based on everything we've talked about, I'll go ahead and end the video recording now in the time being.